What's Doug reading? What happened there?
I fell.
Oh, was that staged or was that a real fall?
Oh, that was a real fall.
You okay? Gonna make
No,
it?
that wasn't. It was a real staged fall, actually. Genuine imitation.
Oh, I missed it. Well, hello, Mr. Doug.
Oh my goodness!
It's been a while.
It has been a long while. The holiday season is really it's too much. It needs to stop.
Yeah, they need to stop the holidays. They're bull crap.
Stop the holidays. We need to make T-shirts that say that.
Well, they practically did stop the holidays. We haven't had much of a holidays this year.
That's true, actually. Although on my end, you can't tell.
Yeah, I know. First of all, I guess I want to thank everybody who's joining us. Lots of people are joining. I'm going to fall for this trick, and I think it's a trick. I've got a conspiracy theory. I want to hear what you have to think of this, Doug. Is that Stacy from Phoenix moves on? Every time she'll pop in, and we say, "Hey, hi, Stacy." But I've been noticing lately she doesn't comment later. I think she's just popping on. We say hi, and then she's out of here. She's like, "Oh, I got my."
I made my appearance. We're on to you, Stacy.
But I do appreciate it, even if some of you are here just for just to make an appearance. That's appreciated as well. So it looks like there are some comments here already. So I guess let me share. This is not a UFO. I know this is not a UFO specific show. Like Open Minds typically covers. Oh, Stacy says she's at work. That's why. Well, hello, Stacy. It was her birthday recently too. Happy birthday, Stacy.
Happy belated birthday, Stacy.
But we but it's not
this is not an alien show.
Specific show, alien show. Of course, Doug and I do talk about what we do other than on this show. And of course, I do UFOs. So we do take some UFO questions. And Doug is very interested in the UFOs and the paranormal. And he's always reading about a lot of kind of esoteric stuff. And that's why we created the show. What is Doug reading? To talk about what Doug is talking about. Do you want me to start asking you some of the questions people have? I don't even know what this one is, but it seems like they may feel that you may know some more about this. Haim Ashed for real. Oh, I know what this is. I don't know, Gas Mask. So this allegedly, this article came out in the Jerusalem Post that says this guy who worked in security. You know it. You looked at it. You sent it to me and was like,
I sent it to you.
Though. Yeah, it's loco. It's crazy. It's got lots of crazy junk in it.
It sucks because it cheapens what we're trying to get out there now. Like now's the time. So now it's disinformation.
I hear
and
you,
I don't
bro.
know if that is the true, motivation behind it is to disinform, or it's just they're hopping on board to take advantage of the hype right now, the hype train, and they're looking for 15 minutes. But at the end of the day, what it does is it just does serious damage to ufology and what's going on right now.
Yeah. So, but let's do this. When you have time, I'm asking you this live on the show, but will you have time about this time tomorrow too?
Possibly. Yeah,
okay,
possibly.
So maybe we'll talk about this more on the podcast, Open Mind UFO Radio tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow if you want to hear more about Israel and some of the weird UFO stuff.
Apparently I'll be on that show.
It says here, Doug reading The Secrets of Anti-Gravity. Is that something they're suggesting maybe or asking if you're reading? I can't tell. It just says...
Oh, no, because of my fall. I think it was because of my entrance.
Oh, cute.
I mean,
that was
guessing.
A good one.
Yeah, that was really cute. It was memorable. It was certainly memorable. I'm working on my Jack Tripper falls.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah,
Jack Tripper and of course one of the first greats,
Charlie Chaplin. Let's give it up for Charlie Chaplin, folks. Physical comedian. Who?
The tall guy on
give me some more context.
That's a freaky face. Look at that.
Yeah, that was pretty freaky.
No, it's like the face melting scene in
Indiana Jones.
Yeah. But Dick Van Dyke, he is good at it too.
Yeah. He's definitely a very physical actor.
Mm-hmm.
Really was.
So yeah,
Horrible
more
British
questions.
accent though.
Yeah, funny. Okay, so really good questions, funny stuff. Let's talk about what is the subject of today's. What is Doug reading?
Folks, I have to apologize. I have to apologize for being MIA the last couple of weeks, but also my my reading list still stands. However, time to read in this holiday season for me has been nil. I mean, it's really what I plan on covering today was a magazine that I subscribe to, and I think you all should, is World Explorer magazine. And this comes at us from David Childress. Of Ancient Alien fame, as well as a few other things as well. I'm sure he probably feels. Well, actually, no. Ancient Alien's probably made his name household when it comes to these type of circles. But World Explorer is his magazine, and which has been, I don't know, honestly, if you go to their site and try to find a date when they started, I've been subscribing to this for probably about, I don't know, 4 years now. I love it because I go to the gym and I like to read when I'm there. And sometimes the best thing to read is a magazine. And I love this because it's highly entertaining is what it all comes down to. It's got the paranormal in it. It's got the weird. It's got cryptology. It's got ufology. It's all that. And it's you really got to be judicial with how you read this. Cause I mean, some of the authors in this magazine really believe what they're talking about. They're very passionate about it. So I give them that. They have a lot of heart, but, it's fun is what it all comes down to. And they ask a lot of questions that we've been asking for a while. And so this is just one of the many. I brought a few examples of it here. But it's a fun magazine. If you don't know
free?
it. No. Definitely not free.
Is it expensive?
I think it was like $50 for a year. I can't remember now.
I don't think that's
I have it automated.
Bad.
No, it's great for what it is. Again, it's a thick magazine too. I mean, I actually advertised in the classifieds for a while, but and this goes along with, I don't know how many of you, how much of you know of David's livelihood here, but he does like World Explorer expeditions or tours, which is cool. And it's something I would love to do that someday. Do tours, and that's what he does. Taking people all around the world to different sites and different things. And I think the last one was to Antarctica, actually. That might not have been World Explorer, however, that might have been Ancient Alien thing, because I think Giorgio was on board that one. But him and his wife, Jennifer, is Jennifer his wife or his girlfriend?
I think both. No, they've been together for a very long time.
So legally they're married. But yeah, they've been doing these expeditions for a long time. I think that since the early 90s, to be perfectly honest with you. So this is kind of an extension of those trips as well. A lot of articles are born from those trips. But yeah, really just great stuff. It's also in the same vein as 40 and Times, so it starts off like any good 40 and Times magazine. You got like your, news around the clubhouse. You got your news roundups, which is all the different, things happening around the planet that are weird and paranormal. You have a cryptology corner. So it's very similar in format to 40 and Times, I find. And often, since I subscribe to both, I subscribe to a few different magazines, as you probably remember in the past episodes. And a lot of times these news parts of the magazine, they crisscross each other. There's overlap. Sometimes I'm reading the same article because they're getting it from the same sources. And it's current, So I think that's really cool. And it just kind of solidifies a lot of the stuff you're reading in these magazines. But, it's just a dying culture, magazine culture and periodicals. Did I lose Alejandro? It's just me. Oh, anyways, I think it's a lot. It's a dying culture. So get in it while you can, because there is something really cool. There he goes again.
No, I'm just full screening it so they can see the magazine in
stealth technology, folks.
Show it.
Yeah, and it's. And again, they cover old school fiction like Doc Savage. Just really cool, like almost Pulp Fiction type stuff as well. Retro. It's got a retro feel to it. Sometimes I even have 2 copies of the same magazine because that's how into it I am. But yeah, if you like David and like what he does on the show, I can tell you there's so much more to him than the little sound bites he leaves on Ancient Aliens. And he's been all over the place, and he's studied a lot of. I mean, he's kind of a, I won't say Renaissance man, but he's just well versed when it comes to paranormal and pithats. What do you think about that, Alejandro?
Yeah, I know he loved your pith hat when we went and saw him, but maybe a year ago, we went and saw one of his talks. I've known him for a while. He's a good friend, really nice guy. And always really interesting. And I love that he does the magazine. The other thing that I've really loved that he does is that he reprints old comforting books that aren't in print anymore, but I think that are really important.
Yes.
Kind of neat. That's a cool service that he does. So I haven't really looked into the magazine that much because I really don't, out 40 and stuff that much, to be honest. Additionally, that made you drop your coin. Right.
Yeah, you're on the fringe of these topics, I think,
The fringe
because
of
a
the
lot
fringe?
of it, you're on the fringe, exactly. You're the new obscure. But yeah, I mean, it's there, So again, I say you got to look at it very judicially, like picking up what's really happening here and what's just conjecture or speculation, which is Ancient Aliens does that far more than this magazine does. This magazine is actually, it's got different authors and whatnot. And I feel like a lot of these authors are just on the expeditions with them. They're paying to be there, but they're experiencing these trips and writing about it. It's very it reminds me of old school journal entries from turn of the century adventurers from back in the day, like British adventurers and whatnot, and so it's like what I had for lunch, where I was, so it's really it's like journaling. So, and I like that, I missed those type of authors.
And Childress really does explore the earth. I mean, he's traveling all the time, and that's what's kind of about it is even before Ancient Aliens, he was really one of the guys to be out there. And Giorgio, and I got to say, Dirk said, I'd rather shave nether regions with a cheese grater than watch Ancient Aliens. I'm not a fan of the show either, but I really do. I mean, I know Giorgio, and and I think he's funny, and Childress is, a good. I would consider him a friend. He's really cool too, even though we just have difference in topics that we're interested in. But so I get you, Dirk. But that's why I've been following these guys, even though I'm not an Ancient Aliens fan. I've known these guys before Ancient Aliens, and I've gotten an interest with what Childress is up to with his magazine, traveling, and all of that other stuff. And I think that's what's fun about Childress. He's actually traveling the world, and that's what I love about that World Explorer too. Even though I don't subscribe to it right now, I do pick it up at times, and luckily he gives them away sometimes too. And that journal, he's journaling all of his adventures around the world, looking for strange stuff.
And that is in true spirit of world explorers and adventures of the last century. Like back in the day, you didn't need a degree. I mean, a lot of this stuff was your everyday Joe that just had an interest in the budding field of archaeology. So, I mean, it's in the same vein. And I see who said it. He's like the Indiana Jones with no university. That's from the Unidentified Celebrity Review, and he's kind of like that. He does have university behind him, though. David, I think, got his degree, I'm pretty sure, in Asian culture and something else. I think he has an undergrad in something else. I can't recall what he has. But at the talk that we went to, and where did we see him? Jerome, and
I've got one of those. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
He mentioned he mentioned his education. So he is educated in that way, but he hit the road. I mean, I think right out of college, he hit the world, if you will, and started traveling. I think he was on traveling around to ancient sites for about 6 years before he wrote his first couple books in the early 80s. So he's been doing, and his writing is prolific. I mean, he's got book after every year. It seems like he releases 2 books. So he's doing, I don't know where he finds the time, to be perfectly honest with you. He's kind of made it all work for him. I mean, if you're doing these expeditions and then you're writing about these expeditions, you're getting paid to take people on tours. Then you're writing about it. And I'm thinking Ancient Aliens probably sends a camera crew to wherever he is also to see if they can catch, something too. And so he somehow makes it work. But I mean, the guy is just, he's busy, busy, busy. And yeah, Ancient Aliens, there's a lot of fluff there, and they again, conjecture and so on and so forth. It's entertainment. It bothers me that it's on the History Channel, because a lot of America thinks History Channel is, history. So that's disturbing to me, but it is highly entertaining. And they do bring whatever gets you to think differently about something and look at it from another angle, I think is always good. But it's getting stuck in that angle, or just thinking that's the only angle. And you and I, we can critically watch this and enjoy it as entertainment. And but I mean, but for other folks out there, it can be kind of confusing and misleading, if you will.
Yeah. Someone had mentioned too, some other people just I can engage with university. The is kind of his university. I mean, True doing research for a university, he's doing it for himself, books, and he prints his findings and what he's up to in World Explorer. So that's kind of what's fun about World Explorer. That is University of Progress. Otherwise, Jock of Ages, it says he wants one of those little pens. It's kind of, I've got one of those little pens. He's talking about the Colombian object that looks like a plane, but it also be.
We know who makes those. Mari.
Who's that?
She was at UFO Congress. Her and her mother. Yeah, that's
a lot of people make them. I got
now a lot of people make them, but she, I think, made the first one for Giorgio. Then he started selling his own.
Giorgio made them before that. Giorgio was selling them for years.
Oh, she was too, from what I understand.
I think I got mine from Giorgio like 20 years ago.
No.
Yeah, he was doing this like 20 years ago. That's what he was known for, is his and he was promoting
pins,
the magazine that the guy Jacket. That he works with. He was promoting Ancient Aliens magazine essentially before the television show, and he used to sell those.
It's funny because you see that sometimes as in the on Ancient Aliens in the lower thirds, Giorgio, and then some magazine. That magazine that you're talking about, I can't find the copy of that magazine for the life of me. That he's the editor
I think
for.
It was. Yeah,
his credentials.
That was Ancient Times, I think it's called.
Von Daniken's. Von Daniken's.
Yeah, Von Daniken's.
Yeah, it's his magazine.
Yeah, that's what Giorgio was a US rep, so he would be at all the courses, including ours, selling those, and he would have a bunch of them. Also have those pins. So yeah, Mira does it, but she wasn't the first.
And and speaking of education, Giorgio, what he got his degree in, like, what was it? Sports science,
something like that.
Yeah, sports science. So there's that. So that said, I can't wait to get on Ancient Aliens. It's gonna be awesome. Soap maker to ancient alien theorist.
I was on last year.
Yeah.
Some people are saying Ancient Aliens. Oh no, they're getting on you for talking bad about Aliens. They're being funny though.
I know what they're doing. They're on my team.
So what do you think about somebody saying, which is a great question, especially talking about World Explorer, David Hatcher Childress. What are your thoughts about the alien theory? Are you an ancient enthusiast?
Who, me?
Yeah,
you know me better than that. Am I an ancient?
But they don't know. They want to know. Our audience wants to know.
First of all, guys, is Alejandro's screen looking wonky for you guys too? Or is it just on my end? I'm getting a little delay from him. Yeah, look at that. It's all blurry. Can you see how blurry you look?
No.
It's like the Bigfoot effect. My thoughts on ancient alien. I mean, again, it's a theory like anything else. It's been around forever, and I feel like we've talked about this many times already on the show. It's an interesting theory, but I don't necessarily, buy into it 100%. I think we're looking at the past through, our modern filters and seeing what we want to. I mean, when you see a cliff or rock drawing or a glyph of an animal, a animal-headed human or whatnot. I mean, just because there's a picture of a human with an animal head on it doesn't mean that they were seeing that. Because human imagination isn't a new thing. You can imagine stuff back. Imagine like a future culture finding. Remember the Wuzzles? Was it the Wuzzles that were like the half like elephant, half pig, half like there were all these different animals, and they were stuffed animals. Like imagine a future culture finding them and think they must have existed because this doll. It's like I don't know. And it's kind of like when people say you can't make this stuff up. As a creative, that statement offends me. It's like, yes, you can. Good fiction you can make up. So I mean, like, what do you mean you can't make this stuff up? So I just think it takes credit away from human imagination. I think it takes credit away from humans in general. A lot of the stuff that they're saying, is aliens are responsible for. It's like, well, why couldn't we have done it? I think that we've been on this planet a lot longer than you or the academics state or say. We just can't prove it right now, and that's probably why a lot of these guys aren't saying anything. Is because it's you need to prove it. But I believe we've just been here a lot longer than what we think we have, and I think we're responsible. I want to give the credits to humans first rather than jump to aliens, which I think is just an easy out and a shortcut to thinking half the time. But it makes for great TV. And again, it's highly entertaining. And if there's like a choice to watch this, that, and the other thing, I'll often watch Ancient Aliens. But now I think they're really grasping for straws for ideas. I mean, they've been around for almost 20 years now. I'm sure they didn't think they were going to last longer than a year. So, I mean, like, what do you start talking about? And I mean, it's just Ancient Alien theory only goes so far. But I mean, like the stuff they're bringing up, which is interesting because it's, I don't know. It's just like I can't talk about anything interesting anymore without someone going, "Oh yeah, like that Ancient Aliens episode." It's like, really, Ancient Aliens covered that too, and it's like, "Oh yeah, you didn't hear from Ancient Aliens?" It's like, no. I have no idea what I'm talking about right now. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Personally, I totally agree. I think that we don't give credits for humans. I think that we definitely need to look there first. Unfortunately, I think that show often accredits things that are obviously human to alleged non-humans. I just don't appreciate wild, unfounded speculation that much, to be honest. And I think that's what a lot of that is. And a lot of this fits that. In fact, a lot of people are now talking Israeli article from earlier today. I think that's what that is. A lot of unfounded, wild speculation. And I don't believe any of it. I don't think the facts any of it. And so those of you asking, I think it's ridiculous. Based on Mars, we're talking to a galactic federation, some of this stuff. It's in the same, I think it's wild speculation that's completely unfounded. Yeah, and so I'm not an ancient alien theorist at all. Is it possible? Maybe, but I don't think we have any evidence. I think it's more possible that there are, like you said, there are civilizations that are probably older than we know. Not only that, there could definitely be technology that have been lost to time, maybe technologies that we haven't rediscovered yet. That have been lost, that maybe are beyond ours, something to do with frequency or something like that, that we just haven't rediscovered. I think that's possibility too. So that's why all these areas are ripe for research. And, really difficult when you look at, the of civilization, the Mesopotamia, or even if you go into Central America or Africa, a lot of not because of the political situations in these that we haven't been able to explore a lot of these areas, and so we are guessing. But there's a lot of science and hopefully will be done in the future to answer some of these questions.
I agree. Yeah, as I like to say, this isn't the first time this room's been rented. And I mean that in regards to planet Earth. I feel like we've been here doing this for a long time. And each time we think it's the first time. But
Yeah, so
yes.
who knows?
Oh, what I wanted to say is, so folks, that's why we're covering this magazine today. That's not really why we're covering this. The reason why we're covering it is because Holiday's been kicking my butt with work. Our holiday orders have been coming in. It's been nonstop working action. So I haven't been getting my reading in. And that's why I thought I would pick it up with just exploring this magazine or checking it out and just making you guys aware of it if you're not. Again, if you're into ufology and whatnot, that is covered in here too. But for the most part, it's a lot of just, 40 type stuff. It's pretty damn cool.
Favorite
Again,
writers or favorite articles from there? Can you think of any like real eye-opening article or something that's really intrigued you?
Well, yeah, like every now and then they'll end up with like an article like the Lizard Man of Sonora. That's right down the road from me. So I was like, I haven't heard of the Lizard Man here. I've heard of the Lizard Man sightings in South Carolina and I don't know, California. And then the reptilian thing in conspiracy theory. So I was interested in that. So that one, and interestingly enough, let's see, this is probably from like 2014. So I got to really go back with this. But what I recall is so it starts off with a sighting that happened on a bike trail east of Tucson of this lizard man, this like humanoid type lizard man that just ran across the path in front of, like stopped in front of them for a second while they're on their bikes. And then took off. So it was really just a fleeting encounter, but it had an effect on these guys. But the rest of the article doesn't deal with the Sonoran lizard man at all. That's the opener to the article. And then it goes into past sightings of the lizard man and supposedly a lizard city underneath Hollywood, California, underneath Los Angeles, actually. Have you ever heard that? No. Well, it goes back to the Hopi Indians as well. I mean, it's legend, this legendary city built by the lizard people that were using, they weren't digging, they were using some type of solution, I think, to eat away at the rock to build this city that's shaped like a lizard too, underneath Los Angeles with golden tablets and stuff like that hidden in there. Though it's never been, supposedly there's an article from like 1930s, I believe, or 1900, where someone discovered this or talks about it. There's always an article from like 1900 in some random newspaper somewhere. So that's got to be real. And I hate that kind of thinking too, where it's always like their proof is this article from this random newspaper, even if it's like the New York Times from 1902, like that's proof. That, my friends, sells newspapers. That is called yellow journalism. You got to give me more than that. But I recall that being used too in defense of the of that article. But yeah, so Lizard Man. So that one, it's an interesting read. It talks about an area that I'm familiar with, and it just gets me thinking about it. And I like to collect these stories. I think the stories are interesting. I like to write, so I mean, it's good for building fiction. All these little details, and and there's someone out there that is going to get the reference, and so I like to dig deep for these things, and that's what's great about David's magazines. He brings these things to the surface, these obscure like things that are interesting, be them true or not, and it's all in a magazine. You can read this from cover to cover in less than 2 hours. But yeah, that was a good one from what I recall.
Somebody, and because we have such intelligent watchers, someone said Lizard City under LA is from the book Mysterious California. At least apparently it's covered.
Oh, they covered in there.
Book. So that's pretty interesting.
That is. When was that book put out? Mysterious California?
I don't know. Anthony maybe will let us know. So that's kind of interesting. So we'll see. It's funny that a lot of people talking about the Israeli guy and his kind of weird come up. Stuff. Yeah. And there's a lot of debate going on. Well, not a huge debate. I think most people are agreeing that it was pretty silly stuff. I did tweet that article. So if people want to look at my Twitter, Alejandro T. Rojas, you'd be able to find it, and some comments that people have made, which were kind of funny. But yeah. And the other thing that I find interesting is had emailed me from an Israeli think tank, and he had done an intelligence report on aliens too, or UFOs. and God bless him, because the watcher and listener, it read like kind of anybody going out there and going online and looking into UFOs and kind of summarizing. So it had a lot of MJ12 and other really sketchy material, um, and I think that's weird. Why? Kevin Childress is saying Elizondo, who ran the Pentagon program, said it was compelling. That's fine. He could be being nice by saying it was compelling. If he actually thinks it's compelling, I just completely disagree with him.
Right.
I do talk to Lou once in a while, and for the most part, we agree on stuff. And of course, he has more knowledge about certain things than I do. But yeah, I don't. And what was interesting is I shared that report that I got from Israeli intelligence group, or this think tank from this guy who wrote it. And I shared it with a bunch of people, including Chris Mellon. And Chris actually tweeted it out, which I didn't tweet it out because I would have given some kind of context. But I kind of found it a little bit unfortunate that happened. And I guess maybe I made sure to say I felt that the Jerusalem Post was zany, because it kind of gives credibility. We have to be careful, I guess, that it can't give credibility to the story when we tweet it out or something. So I think that it's Chris Mellon tweeting out that Israeli think tank thing, even though people didn't make a big deal out of it, thought that maybe it gave it more credibility than it did. But what's weird is that the Israelis seem to be interested in this topic now and look into it, I guess, or at least stories are starting to arise. But thus far, what I've seen is just wild speculation. Same kind of wild speculation you see in our chat group here or on media anywhere. So yeah, or on Ancient Aliens. So, but maybe that's where it starts, is wild speculation, and eventually, better organizations get into stuff.
Full Wilcock. That's funny, Finn.
That is a good one. Finn, yeah. I think that's the same Finn that's usually on Facebook, and he came over to YouTube, which is nice to see Finn, because Finn, we used to have conversations on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook anymore. I'm on YouTube and Twitter mostly now.
Oh, well, no Instagram for you. But yeah, if someone was asking about the lizard-shaped city, how they knew it was lizard-shaped. Well, supposedly in that article, again, it wasn't 1900. It must have been like 1930s. The person that made the discovery was drilling. Excuse me. I think he was some type of, I don't know who he worked for, some type of industry, and he was using X-ray apparently to scan the ground and found these caverns. But I think between him doing this and him meeting a Native American chief who passed on these legends to him, I think that's how he came up with the idea that it was a lizard-shaped cavern. I don't know, people. I don't. But again, highly entertaining. And I thought I would also, I'd share another tip with you guys, since again, I'm not bringing much to the table today. But for those of you,
don't say that, Doug. You should know that you always pretend like you're killing it. That's show business.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, and if you wouldn't have said this now, I would have not known you felt that way. I disagree. You are lending some. You're being great. There's been some comments in here. Someone said this. I love this guy like that. So yeah, you're doing great.
Okay, so what is it? Under promise, over deliver. Is that? So I thought I would bring. So okay, here we go then. Got a chance to redeem myself. For those of you who do collect old books and parchments and all those things, oftentimes you will get a book. It could be the coolest book in the world, but it has that musty scent, that damp, musty scent, like it's been living in someone's basement forever or wherever. And you won't buy the book. You put the book back, or you want to wash your hands after that. You don't want to get any of that on you, because those things can be problematic, especially if you're going to introduce that book into your library, and there could be worms and so on and so forth. So I thought I'd show you guys a little tip that I do when I get an old book. Let's see how it. Okay, I put it in this box. It's a Tupperware box, but my secret is underneath this paper is baking soda. And then the book goes on top of that, and it'll stay in there for anywhere up to a week to however long I want to leave it in there. But it deodorizes the book. It sucks in all that mustiness, and it in doing so, it starves the bookworms or anything else that's in the pages as well. But and there's other tricks of doing it too. Some people use fabric softener sheets in between pages, but I'm a little apprehensive about that because I know those fabric softener sheets contain oils and whatnot. I'm too wary of that damaging the pages, especially if they're old. It's an old book. So maybe you have a book that's a modern book that's rain damaged or whatnot, but kept in your basement. But this is a real quick trick that I do. Quick trick meaning as long as you can wait a week. But I leave them there as long as I possibly can, and it definitely works. So baking soda is your friend. And you don't need to layer the bottom of this as I have done. I did that for more surface area. You could put a box of baking soda in here with just, one half of it opened up. But this has been a very effective method for me in the past. So I thought I'd bring a little Martha Stewart to the show and share one of my tips with you guys. See, on my other channel, which is a shaving history channel, go figure, I have a beard, but I always share tips, tricks, and hacks. So I thought I'd incorporate some of that into this, more along the line of what we're talking about on the show, which is books, especially old books. So I hope that helps some
more added value. Good stuff. That's a really good tip.
Thanks.
And in fact, it is Finn, my good old buddy. See you back, Finn. Hopefully you can join us. These are fun. But he said, and Sprague have a love child. Just kidding. This guy Doug is good fun.
Wait,
compliment.
What's that? Jeremy Corbell, come on.
And then he also comment just now. He liked your good book readers life hack. See,
good,
loving it.
No, but it's true. If you collect pulp magazines, especially, I love here's Oops. I don't know if I showed you this on another episode of this, but this is an old copy of Fate magazine. And it's from 1951. Now, this one is in excellent condition. However, sometimes when you buy those lot sales on eBay or whatnot, they do have that musty mildew thing going on. The cure-all for that is baking soda every time in a Tupperware container. Tubbies and baking soda really save the day every time. So, and these are hard to find. Often you'll only find one, and it takes months before you find another version of it, or a cleaner, more a better one in better condition. So you have to hop on these little more beat up ones, and again, often the mustiness and the mildew will kill it. And so this is one way to kill that and keep the magazine, because there really is a lot of great articles in these, a lot of great stories, and in the same vein as its modern equivalent, World Explorer magazine. Now, I saw someone from the UK said they were going to look into trying to find it. You're going to have to order it from the United States, but totally great. I'm lucky enough to live within miles of David's store that he has in Arizona. He has a bookstore in Arizona too, in Cottonwood, which is a few hours away that Alejandro and I have been to. But and he sells back issues of the magazine too, so I can always pick them. And sometimes I forget which ones I have, and I end up buying duplicate copies inadvertently. But yeah, it all goes back to just a good story, be it true, speculation, or fiction. I like classic pulp. I like modern pulp. I like my orange juice pulpless.
You do. Interesting that you should be to other types of pulp.
I know, isn't
it? I think that's really interesting. That's a really a lot of people get those musty books and magazines and everything, so it's a good way to them and to smell out of. It's a really good idea. Somebody else had some interesting point in here. Somebody said they like the books. They said that they like the UFO. There's my UFO right there, because I'm in the Open Minds headquarters where I found my hat. I had this one. but in California, and you can see there's my Open Minds poster that it was made. Anyway, when it comes to ancient alien and all of this stuff, I guess one of the things that I find interesting, a lot of Fortean really on this, and I think this is an important topic. People watching into this too, is that the effect yellow journalism has had on the Fortean, because a lot of the mythology that permeates today in the circles all stem from these old journalism articles, or these random articles that you can find 100 years and that say, lizard man,
Wild man.
Yeah, anything. And then they become the thing, the giant phenomena. I think is almost, I know this might be frustrating, some disagree, and I'd love to hear it. I think the giants phenomenon is 100% created by all of this stuff. I haven't seen one giant phenomena article or story that didn't have it in either a yellow journalism story or an outright hoax.
Yeah, and the Smithsonian's always the bad guy. Before the Nazis, when it came to paranormal stuff, the bad guy was the Smithsonian. Now it's the Nazi. For the last 70 years, it's been the Nazis in stories and pulp and everything. Nazis make great bad guys in all the stories and in real life too. But before that, it was the Smithsonian when it came to yellow journalism, and I think that just. Again, yesterday's fiction becomes today's credible facts, I suppose, when it comes to backing up some of this stuff. And it only, when you do that, when you rely on just that, it cheapens the field. It cheapens and the Forteans. I mean, behind the Fortean stories, Forteans, they are they don't believe in all this stuff. They want facts. They want to believe, but they want facts behind that. They're skeptics to the core, and I consider myself one of those as well. So I wouldn't call it Fortean, but I mean, it really is. It just saddens me that people will just believe that. They don't rely on anything else. And it was the New York Times. It was the Washington Post. I don't care if they're reputable or not. They got to sell newspapers. It's like today's, it was like the blogging of today, the headlines of today. It's not new. There's nothing new under the sun when it comes to selling something, be it online or be it 100 years ago, 150 years ago when it comes to yellow journalism. I mean, we all learned about yellow journalism as early as middle school, I think. I mean, in history class, like it's not new. I don't know why we're acting like this is a credible source. And if enough people share the same fiction, it still doesn't make it true, and it doesn't back up your case. So we're going to need something more, especially when it comes to the red-headed giants. I mean, the red-headed part is interesting, considering there's the red-headed tribes that was supposedly in the Amazon and South America. I mean, so there's but you can string together all these different things. I mean, it still does not make it true, but it does make for one hell of a TV show.
Yeah. And, people are bringing up some great points. The Smithsonian photos, which all were Photoshopped. Darkinian rumors are bigger than flat Earth. It says Paula Harris, she held a giant tooth. Yeah, that might have been like one of those roadside traps that allegedly was a giant tooth. And I do know Paula well, but I know she also might have been fooled. But this is a funny one. The Egyptian artifacts found in the Grand Canyon that supposedly the Smithsonian Channel came and took away and hid away, all based off of these highly dubious. And in that case, I think it's been fairly well established April Fool's joke. That's the other thing, is these old April Fool's joke articles also fool a lot of people and mythology. Really, anytime anyone's trying to trick people, as enough time passes by, often those turn into a mythology later in life, which is just, I guess, just weird. I guess it's just that part of our human nature to create stories and I guess culturally, in the past it was kind of the small talk and it was kind of probably socially important, to have stories to tell each other, to have fun and laugh at them, whether they're true or not. Yeah, campfire talk type
telephone
things.
game. it's all part of it. You know, I mean, it's like, it's just the way we're wired. We got to fill in the blanks, and sometimes we take rather large leaps to fill in those blanks and expect everyone to believe it.
And I guess that's what's great. Like the is they provide you that sort of kind of campfire talk type of fun stuff. And I think a lot of people, like a lot of or stuff for fun too, that they don't buy it necessarily. Same thing with tabloids, the old tabloid type stuff. I like to read it for fun.
What do we got here? We got Renee Cruz is saying Marilyn
Renee
Manson
is asking about this. He said, okay, you can get rid of the smell, baking powder. How do you get rid of the evil spirits? So he's saying
I use
Marilyn
sage.
Manson
I burn sage, actually, and that neutralizes the effects of the evil spirit, chases them off, if you will. Marilyn Manson pentagram and to read out the yeah, and like the Necronomicon, that's a great example right there of something that people believe is a real thing. When it's a fiction, it's a device used in fiction that was started by H.P. Lovecraft in, what was it? The Hound. I think it was 1920, early 1920s, where he introduces the Necronomicon in the Hound. And so it's been used over the years. Different fans of H.P. Lovecraft, other authors, have kept the Necronomicon alive in their fictions. I love it, how it's a reoccurring device. And I think I have yet to use it myself, and I just might tonight. But yeah, so I mean, like that right there, a lot of people think that is a really ancient book of spells and whatnot, a real legit ancient book of spells. And it's not. And I don't know if you knew that or not, Renee. And
that is kind of funny because, inside I found one of those. I wonder if there's
Evil Dead.
For it. I wonder if there is a term for it where a device is created in fictional world and then it's used in other fictional pieces of work. So across one, I didn't really symbiote, which is in episodes of Star Trek, it was used and all design because of one of the main characters there. Symbiote is an intelligent alien that lives for a long time, and for a while it lives inside a human, and it's symbiotic relation,
right? Symbiosis,
and so they allow the person allows this creature to come into them and kind of take over their character, and I guess it's been used in science fiction, including in Star Wars. There's a symbiote character, and that same term symbiote is used throughout them. So it's kind of interesting, like Necronomicon, how that happens.
Yeah, I love it. If depending on what I don't know what genre you write, there's like just self-referencing that happens all throughout, and I think that's really cool. It builds a universe around it. And it also makes you part of that, part of that universe, and it's that easy to join. Apparently, so they've been using it for ages, and I think it's really, really cool. It's building upon a mythology, a modern mythology, and that's just there's something like. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting like little notifications from someone that said West Berlin or someone's talking to me, and I'm getting only bits and pieces of a conversation. I don't know.
So let me ask you this though. You're obviously skeptical of a lot of these concepts, and I agree. But why what then drives your interest in the Fortean?
Because I want to believe. I think we all do to some extent. I mean, I'm actually what I dig about it is the history. I like the history part. I just don't like. I mean, when you attach the fiction to it, it makes it a little more interesting, and you focus more on it, maybe. But you're getting the history too. So I'm attracted to history first, and then the mystery of it second. And I think somewhere in there, there's maybe a little bit of the truth. It's just getting down to that, and on a slow boil maybe. But I like there's an entertainment value to that. And so I appreciate it, but I can't I try to keep an open mind, but not so open that anything crawls inside. And, just like everyone else, I'm just trying to figure it out. But I do find it interesting. I do want to believe in these things. I want to find proof if it's out there. As cliche and as trite as that sounds.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's interesting because I would say I'm a bit similar in that I think there's a little bit of smoke, and so there could be some fire there. I just think that most people get it wrong, and of course, people can be fooled based off of these ideas and beliefs, and that's what we have to be careful of. But what is exciting is when we do kind of run across some of the truth behind some of this stuff. And I got to remind people who are here because of their interest in UFOs that this whole Pentagon UFO program started as a paranormal project looking into Bigfoot and poltergeists and cattle mutilations and a whole host of paranormal topics at the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. That's what Senator Harry Reid got funding for, but eventually, people couldn't take them looking into all of this craziness, so they only allowed the UFO part to continue. And boy, has it continued. Now the Senate's looking into it, so at least bringing some information forward. And what do you think of this? Harry Reid started this project to look into all of these paranormal options. Nobody's asked him, though I think they should, that about the paranormal interest. He was funding paranormal projects, and does he feel like the government should look into other paranormal issues? What do you think of that?
Well, of course, I think they should. I think when you're delving into these things, you're going to find a little bit of truth. You're going to find something there. There's going to be a thread that you can pull. One of them, or maybe none of them, but at least it's inspiring. I mean, it's like I have friends today that are actually archaeologists or linguists or anthropologists, and they were inspired by Indiana Jones, as most people were 40 years ago, and that that shaped their whole career trajectory. So I think good things do come out of these fictions or these, the paranormal or whatever. I mean, I think there is something there. Be that we actually find something, or be that it inspires you to do something, I think is important. But we're just, our technology is so, for as advanced as we are in some areas, we're so behind in others. So I think until we catch up in those areas, a lot of these things are still going to look paranormal and mysterious or just fake to us. And we just need to we can't stop. We can't settle on the answers that we've gotten so far with certain things. There's other things that are conclusive that we know is just bogus, but there are other things that we just don't know, like Skinwalker Ranch. I'm still think we need to spend a night there. And I'm going to keep saying that at every episode until we do.
Yeah. It's funny. People are saying my connection's better. I don't know what had happened. I haven't.
Yeah, it is better.
Anything, but I don't know why it was bad for a second, but or for most of the show. But I think that is well said. Everybody saying well said, Doug. So I shouldn't say every one person said that, but I'm saying it too. I agree with you.
Well, thanks for your support, guy.
I tried to blow it out of proportion there for you. But it would be interesting to go check out Skinwalker Ranch. Love it. I fear no. I used to do more paranormal research, and I used to be a little bit scared to go to some of the allegedly scary places. But after going to them and having no experience, now I have no fear of going anywhere that is allegedly haunted or something, because I'm just doubtful I'm going to experience anything worse. If I do, that's awesome. That's the goal. So
the argument is though, if you're not open to these things, it's not going to happen to you. You can't win.
Yeah.
It's you don't believe in that stuff? Well, it's not going to happen to you. How does that work exactly? That's not science.
Because I think the problem with that is sometimes people are open, and I think that's the problem. Charge some people a ton of money to go look at UFO. and especially if you claim you can teach, it's that they're more likely to be prone to making sure they see something.
Oh yeah, it's
like
it's like scientists too. Like you want to back up your claim, so you're it's definitely. I mean, you can really set yourself up for that, especially with like houses and what. I mean, old houses. If you've ever been into a house, I grew up in a house that was over 200 years old. We had low ceilings and stuff like that. So that was this space. It's a different space that you walk in. You can almost physically feel it. It feels weird to you if you didn't grow up in that. So you can feel enclosed and like there's something there, like a presence and whatnot. And it's just the space you're in. So I mean, it's like. It's psychological to that. You can really, psych yourself up, as we all know. And if you watch any of those shows on TV, you got these grown men like with the night vision. They're all already jumpy. They're waiting for anything to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I hate that too. How again credibility. I mean, they're so not necessarily watered down, but diluted the potency of these paranormal shows now because everyone's got one. There's like the quality has gone way down, and the technology it's still so. You can get apps for your phone. This isn't what Egon's using in the Ghostbusters here, folks, and they're using this as evidence. I don't know. I think it can be done better, but it makes money. It's a big money maker. It's highly entertaining. We all want to be spooked and scared and believe in this stuff, and that's going to be our downfall, I think, until you and I spend a night at Skinwalker Ranch. And show people what's really going on.
What? I think that you make a good point there, though, is that especially the more speculative, and this is probably why that part of the 40, and I guess what it comes down to is so popular is people do like it. And I don't know that they love it or anything. Star Ranch in Arizona, fake, yes. Somebody asked. But yeah, people just sort of stuff, and it does sell, and that's why and I don't think it's ever been the case where it's the science that sells for the most part,
right? Because science can be boring, and the science is it's written in another language for most people, and it might be by design too. So there's that. This is about sexing it up and selling it at the end of the day, and even if it's the same show and over, I mean, Ancient Aliens again, how many years has it been on? It's like
20,
almost 20 years. Yeah, it's pretty.
Really?
It had an amazing run, and just some of the stretches they make and leaps blow my mind. But people eat it up, and they turned on a lot of great people though. A lot of great people got turned on to ufology from this. They've walked away from Ancient Aliens since then. But I mean, it does have its benefits as well. But I mean, it's also the people that can't get out of that end up going down this rabbit hole of just fantasy. And granted, I like a lot of these guys. Another thing is about Ancient Aliens, and this is what it is the way each episode is framed. When you watch an episode of Ancient Aliens, it looks like they're all agreeing with each other. All the different talking heads there, like they're all agreeing. And until you go to a conference and see all those guys on the same panel, you realize they don't necessarily agree on all this. You ever notice that? Like, yeah, I remember when I first went to I was like, oh, they're not in agreement. So I watched the show differently, and it was like, it's just the way they're cutting and pasting stuff to just get behind this. And it's like, I've seen those guys argue. I mean, they're not all best of friends, and they all have different beliefs, but for each episode, they make it work. They make it just for cohesion's sake for however 20-minute long episode it is. But so it's just the way it's put together.
It's funny that you say that because I was on an episode of Ancient Aliens, and we were at lunch at the conference, and I was at the table with Giorgio and some other people, and I said, be on an upcoming episode in Chile. And he looked at one of the producers at the table, and he said, we're not talking about Nazca lines. I told you, no more Nazca lines. Like, he was angry about it. And I was like, no, I'm talking about like the Cepha'ah, the UFO investigation group. And he's like, oh. But and you would think that George Nazca line, he would, but he actually didn't want to cover it there. So that was kind of funny. Same kind of thing. You don't know what they're thinking really the way being portrayed on the show.
Yeah. No, and that happens a lot. It's sexy editing, but no more Nazca lines. Come on, man. Geoglyphs. What I think is interesting about Nazca lines actually is just the fact that we're discovering more and more thanks to drone technology, and which is, I find odd. I mean, we've been flying over these places for years with the tourist planes and so on and so forth, but it's the drones that have really discovered. We've seen a lot more now. We've discovered a lot more thanks to drone technology. Isn't that weird though? I mean, we've been flying over that area forever, but it's the drones. It's just the drones coming closer. But who's flying drones out there in the middle of nowhere is what I don't understand. It's like,
well, now they use for so many different things, surveying land. That's probably what it is, surveying land, because they want to tear down all the beautiful forests and
burn it,
start growing some crops or
jobs, man. They're making jobs for people.
Yeah, I know, and that's kind of, well, I guess we should kind of wrap it. I know you're asking a UFO question. I would say tune in tomorrow. Those of you asking about the Israeli thing, a lot of people want to talk that. Again, what's really Israeli thing? It's kind of fits the theme of what we're talking about. This bombast, ridiculous, obviously what I feel is obviously BS group information is hot and everybody's asking about it. That just demonstrates the whole problem and what the public is interesting. Meanwhile, we have another report, 2 key task force reports that came out that got the intelligence agencies really fighting. That should be big news, is that, intelligence community is excited about UAPs and discovering more credible information about them, rather than this Israeli security guy allegedly claiming that we're not ready to be part of the Galactic Federation, and there's those talks happening, a Mars base and all that kind of junk. But if you really are into the wild, fringy type of UFO stuff, because you want to believe that badly, then there are plenty of channels out there for you to find that stuff out. But are with open mind, credible UFO news and information we'll bring you. So we'll talk more about that when we talk about UFOs. Thank you all for being here. But at the end of the story, it's fun that even we like it, because we know, we feel. We don't know. I think a lot of people feel, though, in their heart and in their blood, that there's something all of these strange stories, that maybe a lot of this stuff is made up, that some of it might not be, and maybe there is some weirdness out there yet to be discovered.
Yes.
I think still that there is weirdness to be discovered. We push forward and in these topics still.
Or it could be just an expression of what's going on inside us that should be explored. I mean, like, we're just seeing that expressed in the outside world, and maybe it's something we should be looking inside ourselves about, the collective consciousness, if you will, or what does it say about our current state, the human condition? So I do. I think it's very interesting. Anyways, folks, thanks for tuning in to today's episode.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'm sure you're busy with lots of cool products. Not on Doug's email list. Do that, because he's releasing products like crazy. Oh, yeah. And we'll be back next week.
It's true. He's frozen, Good. Isn't he? Okay. Right on, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll do this again. I think I'm going to do some Greek mythology maybe next week. I've been kind of delving back into that. And so you guys need to delve into that too, so we can have some conversation here. And here's some food for thought. If you do, in fact, go that route and join me in my little expedition into Greek mythology, think of it as dreams almost. If you ever notice, Greek mythology doesn't read like biblical mythology. It reads like almost like a dream. Stuff comes and goes, doesn't always make sense. Like, Zeus will be a baby, but he'll use something that Hephaestus made for him, who's his son in the future. I mean, like, it really, like, it moves around like dreams do. And that's my current, what's currently on my mind as I'm reading these things. And so this goes back to an expression of the human condition. So that's what I'll be delving into hopefully next week. If we can. But thanks for your patience in the last couple of weeks. We haven't been able to put these episodes together, but here you go. Another one. Check it out.
They've been busy. and for you all, we'll have the Open Mind UFO Radio next week or tomorrow. And then I do want to do, and I think that the timing is really good. Someone was bringing up this gate because there's a new documentary out on it. And I've been wanting to do my talk, and I'll do this as a Rojas report on religions and UFOs and kind of the idea of aliens and how it affects religion and how it spawns new ones. Because there's Heaven's Gate that is coming as far as new religions based off aliens. So I think it's really interesting. We'll talk about that on the Rojas report coming up. Keep an eye out for the live coming up on TV. Please subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Hit the little bell down there so you're notified when we're going to come online, because I'm not necessarily good at notifying people otherwise. And a lot of times it's really last minute, like this one was. So I apologize for that. Thank you all so much for joining. See you, dudes.
Ciao, chicos.
Ciao, chicas. Let me find a little video to play us out.